Simmons is dealing with back soreness. No timetable on his return. So, guys, the question here is how crucial is Ben Simmons for Kyrie and KD to get the Nets to the finals? I do believe the Nets can't make the finals without Ben Simmons because he's that wing defender that they need. This is a two-time first-team all-defensive wing who can guard all 5 positions. And when you put Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons on the court, boy, you've got an incredible duo who can match up with just about anybody from Boston to Philly to Miami. Like, you need that extra defender. I mean, Rick, without Ben Simmons, can you really play a lineup of Patty Mills and Kyrie Irving and Seth Curry? A lot of great shooters, but do you have enough defensively? Yeah. And I don't love the idea of Andre Drummond playing heavy minutes in the playoffs. He's a good rim runner, I get that, but he's a clogger if you got Kyrie Irving potentially driving. We don't know about the situation with Joe Harris. So, yeah, I think this Ben Simmons situation is kind of troubling for the Nets. I have been in the tank for Simmons on this show, on Cowherd Show, basically for the last 3 years. I am taking a bit of an L given how poorly Simmons has handled everything, but hopefully he gets through this back soreness, the mental hurdles that he's gone through. Rick, but without Ben Simmons, I don't think the Nets are going to the NBA Finals.
Way to be kind to yourself. I've kind of taken an L on that. You've taken the big L.
You pat yourself on the back for wins, and you accept L's. It happens.
He's been an unmitigated disappointment for a variety of reasons. And so you said he's an extra defender. Starting with Kevin Durant as the defender and then Ben Simmons as the extra defender. No, Ben Simmons is the defender, and he's the defender that they need. They're ranked defensively 20th right now. They're down the scales when it comes to steals, rebounding they could improve on. Ben Simmons will do all of that. And he's not just a wing defender. He can defend basically any position. And I know we like to say that about LeBron and a number of guys, but in the case of Ben Simmons, it's very much true. He can defend a point guard, and in this day and age, in the small ball era of the NBA, he can also defend the 5. That is going to be vital for these Brooklyn Nets because there is one piece that is clearly missing, and that's the ability to match up with the Giannis Antetokounmpos and the Bam Adebayos. One of those teams, the Brooklyn Nets, are going to have to go through if they're going to get to the finals, and they don't have an answer for either one of those players. So Ben Simmons would be the answer. The question is, when are they going to get him, and what kind of shape is he going to be in when they get him? But if the question is, how indispensable is he for the Nets to get to the finals? There is no way, no how they get anywhere near the finals without Ben Simmons and Ben Simmons playing his best basketball. I actually like him in the fit with the Brooklyn Nets better than I like James Harden. My ideal trio would have been KD, James, and Ben Simmons, but this is the next best thing. But without question, defensively, they have to have Ben Simmons. And he fits. It's just a matter of is he going to be in the right mind, is he going to be in the right frame condition-wise, but that's going to be the question.
Well, since we all agree, I'm gonna jump in on what you just kind of said, Rick. There's no way, no how without Ben Simmons. I don't agree with that. I do think he is crucial to them getting to the finals because of all the things you guys said defensively, and I think that's why this situation for him was so appealing because he doesn't have to be anything offensively but a distributor and focus on defense and rebounding and guarding the other team's best player. Whoever you assign me to, I got him. That's where he will thrive. However, offensively, if you can have Kyrie and KD on the court at the same time, barring all the things that is going on in New York, and if Kyrie can play here in the next who knows when at home, this team is good enough to get there without Ben Simmons. Now, Ben Simmons, he heightens that probability for sure, but I wouldn't count them out completely and solely just because Ben Simmons wouldn't be available. These two guys are bona fide scorers, and you have to account for what they can do offensively. Defensively, they would struggle, But offensively, you're going to have applied pressure every single time you're guarding them. And I think that is why, for me, I can't just wholeheartedly say they have no chance without Ben Simmons. They got together for reasons beyond Ben Simmons, and it was because they knew what they could bring to the table together. Kyrie and Kevin Durant, they understood what they can provide to a team together. And together, just like Harden and Embiid, Kyrie and Durant would be enough.
Yeah, Greg makes a good point because last year we love the Bucks. I know Rick especially loves the Bucks, but the Nets were killing. I'm talking murdering the Bucks in the first two games of that series with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. It was like an and one mixtape. You know, they're up 2-0. Kyrie goes down in game 3. Now, I haven't been the biggest Kyrie Irving fan on planet Earth because he's kind of gone off the reservation here. And, you know, it sounds like, we're not going to dive into it, but the New York mandate stuff for the vaccine, it looks like we'll have some clarity in the next 2 weeks. But, you know, Rick, it's undeniable. When you get this Nets team at full strength, they're the best team in the East. And that's why the gambling odds have them the favorites. The books will not push the Nets out and give, plus 1,000. That's not happening. They have such a loaded roster that they will be able to take down the Bucks, not really with an issue. They should be able to handle Philadelphia, I think, easily. But the Ben Simmons Sixers thing gets really interesting. And then you start drilling down on Ben Simmons. And this is a guy who famously against Atlanta was passing off a layup, did not want to get fouled, was afraid of the foul line. But I just want to remind people, there was a time not that long ago, last year, when Giannis was a liability at the foul line. I'm talking like a 50% free throw shooter. And the stadiums were yelling, 1, 2, counting out the 10 seconds. And Giannis, it was in his head. He got over that hurdle. Ben Simmons needs to clear that mental hurdle of, I'm not afraid to go to the foul line. I'm not afraid to shoot free throws. And seeing those viral clips of him working with Kyle Korver, Rick, that made me optimistic. Now listen, it's not going to happen overnight. Ben Simmons is not going to suddenly be ready to go and totally dominate the way he was an awesome player a few years ago. But I am optimistic more so with Ben Simmons, as you said, to the fit with the Nets, as I am than the Harden fit with the Sixers.
All right, first of all, you're comparing Giannis Antetokounmpo and Ben Simmons.
Free throw
wise. The distinction here is Giannis went through that and he struggled at the free throw line. But the reason you heard the count is because Giannis wasn't afraid to continue to get fouled and go to the free throw line and try to figure it out. Ben Simmons didn't want to shoot, didn't want to even attempt a shot for fear that he might get fouled and he'd have to go to the free throw line. So there's a great difference between those two. Now, show me Greg. I need Greg. I need Greg's face. Greg, this idea that they can win just with Kyrie and KD and not have Ben Simmons as that defensive backstop. The great difference here is that you're talking about Kyrie Irving, Seth Curry, Patty Mills. Like, what do they all have in common? They're all undersized guards. And yes, I know there's a lot of offensive firepower there, but when we get to the playoffs and things slow down, you need to be able to make stops. And you could, as an opponent, you could pick and choose, who am I going to attack the next time down the floor? And Kevin Durant, as much as J-Mac thinks he's the defender for the Brooklyn Nets, I think he's better than he's sometimes been advertised, but he can't be the guy that is the backstop to your defense. So as much as I believe that the talent that the Brooklyn Nets have is tantalizing, and I like their chances if they have everybody together. I like their chances better than I like the Philadelphia 76ers. None of that works without Ben Simmons. Because let's also, J-Mac, you keep going back in history and pulling out what guys were. And I'm telling you who they are now. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is another example of that. He's a completely different player now than he was the player that went into that Brooklyn Nets series. And I would say the same for the Bucks collectively. You can't put a price or a value on what it means for a team to win a championship and their understanding of what it takes and how it brings them together. And that's the ace in the hole that the Milwaukee Bucks have that no one else in the Eastern Conference has, which is collectively, they know exactly what it takes to get there. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is a completely different player than he was going into the playoffs last year. He's a beast, and Greg said it earlier. They're just laying in wait. They're laying in the weeds. They've had less pressure on